Hello, everyone. So today we're going to be playing a game on Pandanet, and I'm starting at a little bit of a lower rank than I normally do. Here on Pandanet, I believe you should rank up every 5 games, but I'm not 100% certain. But I want to start around 10Q because I've gotten a lot more people coming in and on Patreon and watching me on stream that are closer to that 10Q rank. And I'm hoping that we can figure that, see some of those same sort of mistakes, not figure out those mistakes, see some of those similar mistakes that they would make here on Pandanet. But I really want to focus on group strength quite a lot here. There are other things that I think are also important to getting better at the game, but I think that's the singular most important aspect of the game is just weak groups and strong groups. That's all we really need to focus on. So I hope you guys enjoy this. Let's get into the game. We got a game already, and it's actually a handicap game. I forgot to do full handicap stuff here, but the main focus here is still going to be on just playing big moves and keeping myself strong. So we'll see what happens here. It doesn't really matter which direction I block. It's the same no matter what. So they took a 3-3. We'll just play the classic variation nowadays. And since they pushed, we'll do the Hane. In this case, because we do have 2 for 4 points, we could decide to just extend and stay strong. We don't have to worry about being too slow in this case. So I think, you know what? I think I will just extend and not worry about it. I think that will simplify the game quite a bit. Ooh, now they're taking another 3-3 before they've even finished this one. This might be an interesting game in some respect here. Yeah, I'm actually just going to block towards my other stones because I will be turning as soon as possible. And so I'm going to extend and Hane. They shouldn't Tanuki now. And now I will be turning here because the group's not alive in the corner yet. So I want to force them to be alive. And they're basically alive now, sure. That works. We do get this Hane and Connect and Sente. It's really big, but there's not really a reason for me to play it. So we'll leave this alone for now. And we'll just approach their corner and see what they do. Maybe they'll take another 3-3, who knows? It seems like I might be the one who has all the strong groups, and they will have the potential weak groups. This move doesn't really do too much right now. There is still a lot of Aji with the cuts here. That's why we usually extend to S17. So we do have cutting points here. So I think I can actually just Hane to expose the cutting points. Because my group is far away from my other stones. So I think I do want to try to make this group strong before I play away. If I double Hane, it looks like it's going to be fine. Because if they Atari and I connect, and they Atari again and I connect, if they end up connecting, I'm fine, I can capture. And if they don't, we can Atari and maybe capture on the top. So it looks like double Hane is fine. And I'm not going to keep pushing. We are just going to connect. We've now made ourselves really strong. So they're playing a slightly weird move here. Now, usually when they play this type of move, you can actually just take the 3-3 directly because they are not securing the 3-3. That's one reason why we play one space jumps instead. So in this case, they wanted to try to be more efficient, try to close this area off as best they could. But because they are letting me get into the 3-3, I will play in the 3-3. They took my territory, so it's time for me to take theirs. Oh, very, very good for me and not so good for them. Even when I get to just live very easily on the top, it's always still better to, well, not always, but it's often still better to separate. We defended all of our cutting points. We made sure our group was strong. And now they're trying to build up this really small area right here. It's not really that important right now. We don't ever have to think about it. Our goal was to make sure our groups were strong. And so the only thing I'm really worried about right now is that I have a wall that doesn't have an extension and I have a corner that's not enclosed yet. Since it's a 4-4, I can do the enclosure or the extension first. So I will just extend on the bottom here. And we'll see where they decide to jump in. Ooh, another 3-3. Okay. I'm going to just block towards my extension. Keep it very simple. They have 2 corners already. So I'm going to do the double Hane to take a corner for myself. And if they really want to keep the corner, I'm going to get more influence. That's why They usually don't keep the corner after we double Hane like this. All right, there we go. They responded. It took them a little bit to respond to that because I think they only ever see people play the normal move. As I said, in this case, we're playing the double Hane. So we'll see what they decide to do here. They are just going to live in the corner. We just need to protect our cutting points. Cutting points are the most important part. You could even protect them with the double tiger's mouth here. If we want to be very careful with them. Just connection here should also be fine. Because they're not alive in the corner yet. They're still not alive in the corner yet. And now they are alive. Very good. So because they decided to just live in the corner instead of letting us take the corner and them taking the outside, we can now go back and actually turn the left side into territory if we want to. But I think the widest side is still this one. This is still very, very wide. I kind of want to play to just sort of turn this area into territory. The easiest way to do it is just to make another extension here so they can't invade anymore. And you could also try to build it on a large scale like this if you wanted to. But I think we'll just pull back here and make sure they can't invade. Because we have this really large bottom side. We have this really large right side. Make sure I know what side that is. And then we can always come back to the left side if they give us the opportunity. So they are going to invade. And yes, even though this looks like a reduction, I'm calling this an invasion because it's too deep. They're surrounded already. Because they are surrounded already, our goal is to block off any direction they can run. If we jump from this side, they can run to the bottom side here, and that's probably fine. Or we can try to enclose them completely like this, which seems to also work. So the only thing we have to worry about now is do we have any Aji here that we need to really worry about? Because if there's a big cutting point or something, then we should just back off instead. So if we back off and they run away, we can still build the bottom side. And if they keep going to try to peep and attack us, we can just defend and then attack this group as a whole. So surround would be fine. But in this case, I have two different areas to build. So I'm just going to keep my stones connected instead. It seems a little bit weird sometimes to do this, but I'm making it so that they can't really attack my group in any way. And that's the goal here. And if they really try their hardest to attack, it's going to turn into them being in trouble. They're jumping out now. So now we can also jump out. If we jump right next to them, we should be fine. We're very, very strong. So we can jump a little bit further away if you're a bit worried about cutting points. But we don't want them to jump into our area here. So we're going to make sure they can't go down. And that's the most important part here. They should probably be jumping out again. They could try to make some sort of exchange first. This way is fine, but they probably should be jumping out some more. In this case, they're just sealing off the bottom side for me. I was about to say for us, but it's just me playing right now. So we don't have to worry about our cutting points when we are the ones who are strong in the area. All right, yep. We just stay connected. Make sure they can't push through our shape. Yep. Making our shape very, very strong. This is almost always a bad idea for my opponent here because they're maybe making an eye, but they're only really making an eye. And what they need to do is when you're surrounded or you can't make a base, you have to run as fast as you can. In this case, we do want to separate them a little bit here. And the reason why I want to separate is because if I Hane, they're in a lot of trouble with their shape. It's the Hane at the head of two stones. If this wasn't there, I might not even separate. I might just go back and play a big move. And so, yeah, that's a good question now. If we push, because they answered, right? If we push now and they jump and we Hane, do we still have all this same Aji? And it looks like with enough reading, it looks like there is potentially something there. But it is the Hane ahead of three stones, and that's usually fine as well. So we could push one more time because they have all the cutting points in their shape. So it's often good to, harass that a little bit. They invaded extremely deep here. They need to make a base, but they only have one spot to do that, which is sliding towards the bottom side here at K2 or attaching. And they need to run away as fast as possible, but they're running away towards my wall of stones, which means we need to prevent the base first. So we're just going to play this iron pillar. No more base here anymore. Now they're playing a very far jump, trying to be light here. But we can also do the same sort of thing if we want to. We just need to surround as best we can. And when you're trying to surround, you want to go past what the line that your opponent is on. If we just jump here to this one, which is matching the line our opponent is on, they can play this diagonal, which is escaping. So we'd want to play further up here so that they can't just escape easily. So I'm going to play the 2 space jump right now. We can always come back and capture half of it if we need to. And even if we don't, we are still building up the next large area. This is why Moyos are one of the easiest ways to win at lower ranks. If your opponent is too focused on invading, you just build the next area and you're pretty happy. So we probably should just connect. If they cut us here, we could come into a little bit of trouble. There's other ways we could try to fight back, but just connect seems like it's going to be fine. And again, we're just going to surround. Yes, they have a cutting point here, but they have to cut here and push through and do, there's too much they have to do, right? So we just need to keep our shape connected. It doesn't matter if they live. We're just surrounding them here. If we let them push through our shape, we've lost the battle here. So we can't let them push through. So here's a nice question. Where do we want to poke at their shape? It looks like they actually have a decent amount of shape being made right now. So if we Atari here and they connect and we push out, it's a little ladder here, which means we can probably poke at one of these points where we'd be breaking the ladder. This is the other spot that's sort of making them something. So do we have any weakness first before we play this move? There's this Atari. If we connect, then they can cut here, but then we just capture. So we're fine. They fixed our other cutting points, so we don't have to worry about it. So I do think we want to poke at this eye over here. So I'm going to play this one. I want them to live before I leave here. And so now they have 2 potential spots of eye making. I'm just going to play the one, this tiger's mouth here, or this Panuki shape here, because it's the one that's most connected to my stones. Maybe it gives me some points later. And if I push into here, I might be getting rid of an eye. So we have a possibility of ruining the other eye, but that's a little bit more reading. I'm mostly focused on the aspect of playing closer to my stones that are already here. If I play one more stone down, for example, I have a couple points being made. Our stones are nice and connected now for the most part. So I want to poke at their shape again. So if we poke here and they make an eye directly, we can throw in over here and kill the group if we want to. So let's just poke here first and see what they do. If we go to get rid of this eye right now, that's probably fine, honestly. But let's focus on our shape first. If we pull back here, we no longer have any cutting points or anything to worry about. Or we push in here, technically this cutting point works and there's a turn here. So maybe there's something that could end up hurting us. And then there's also this sort of protection of shape right here. Which one am I more annoyed if they do? Let's protect on this side where we have the direct cutting point. Now we'll be able to kill with the next move, so they have to be very careful. Now we also do not have any weakness to worry about. That's all I really want to focus on here is I don't want any weakness. I'm going to even play this nice empty triangle shape. Beautiful shape. And I'm going to even play another empty triangle. Looks fun. It's kind of a funny little shape. But they need to kind of go back and live as quickly as possible here. Because there is this turn here. This is threatening to cut. And then the Hane here. And then they have to go back and live. But do they even have an eye on this side? I'm not even sure. So this is the eye that I said they had to take earlier. So I'm going to get rid of that one. Okay. So now they have this eye here, but they don't have a second eye. So let's threaten to cut off the group. And now you can see why they needed to just make an eye directly. When you see how you're supposed to live, you need to just live as best you can. So we'll Hane here, and now they don't have this eye anymore. So do we have to worry about this? If they cut here, we connect. If they Atari, we connect. They connect, and we're fine. So I don't believe there's any sort of Aji here for us. So we have to make sure there's nothing on the outside. Looks like there's not really anything on the outside either. We can just follow up where we wanted to follow up before, which is this Hane. I want to play this Hane first to see if we get anything here before I come back down to surround this group. So this ladder does work for them. But the problem here is that their other group's going to get surrounded because of this. I think I'm just going to, I don't know, there's lots of different ways to do it. We'll do this move here. It's kind of a weird shape, but what I'm threatening is if I Atari up, I can now do a ladder. And now I'm also threatening the ladder again. And now I'm just going to surround his other group, which was not alive yet. So I was keeping my eye on what was going on in the game. He didn't make their groups alive, so now I get to surround him. That move is not Sente. Looks like we can maybe even go back to the shape on the top side here. And let's cut and see what happens. So they really, really want to cut through our shape. Let's just stay strong from the outside first. Then we just pull back here. And then we get to capture some stones, which is really nice. But I'm just going to connect first. I don't want there to be any weird Aji on the outside here. We're just going to Atari. And we run away. If they decide to capture these stones, they can. They can kind of. Because I am giving them up in exchange for taking a decent corner. So we will Atari here. They can't connect anymore. Yep, we capture here and there's still Aji, so they need to play again. So we can actually just go back and capture their stones. It was a little bit no good for them to do that. There's a couple ways we can do it. This way might be slightly easier. I don't know what's easier to read, but we need to take a liberty from them. So we'll take a liberty here. And then we can just push through because they don't have that many liberties. And we have more. We have 3 here. We just push again. Yep, we can just keep going. They can't make 2 eyes, and we have a lot of liberties. Yep, we can just block here. There's no connection or anything. This last part was them mostly flailing, but we need to make sure we're okay with this, right? So they're trying to really get us to mess up here. When they do this sort of attachment, you could Hane. They're going to have a lot of things for us to read. But the more important part is that there's this elephant eye shape on both sides. And so you can just push through the elephant eye. That's almost never going to be bad. Because look, we're separating these zones so cleanly, and we feel very happy about it. And this is just a ladder. So this doesn't work. Yeah. We'll even, we could even capture, we could even come out. We'll capture, make it nice and simple for ourselves. And when they Atari, we just connect. The group is dead here. The group is likely dead over here, and they died again over here. So it was sort of no good. And here we just want to make sure we are staying connected to our own stones here. This ladder, of course, shouldn't work. If we just jump over this side, we get a base for our 3 stones. And so we're pretty happy. Yep, just connect everything up. Make sure we're staying very strong. Yep, connect, connect, connect. Yeah, again, connecting everything. They'll probably try everything, quite literally. So we'll have to see what's going on here. I'll just capture, get rid of all of my Aji. And then we probably don't even have to worry too much about our stones on the bottom. Because we got to push through and cut everything, basically everything else on the board might end up dead here. I didn't really mean to, honestly. So I think I'll just Hane here, let him live, but take some points. Let him live as in he should live if he goes to try to live. But if they don't go to try to live, then it'll be a problem. There's nothing there. So now we can push through and capture these stones, which is really nice. And now we've basically captured everything at this point. We don't even need to play another move here. So let's just keep making our groups strong, doing things we need to do. Yep, block here. Don't really even need to answer that because we're alive on both sides, but we can. If we push here, we are threatening to make them not alive anymore. So now they can't live, I'm pretty sure, and we're all connected up. We probably didn't need to really keep going with this game. I might be able to cut out a lot of this last part, but yeah, there we go. We're just going to push through here. So one of the things I want to try to do with these games is have a lot more educational content here at the end, at least for the first few games here. The first thing, of course, and I've actually seen this quite often as well. That's why I wanted to see if I would end up in a similar situation on Pandanet, because it is a very different place. When you're at like the Dawn levels, they play very, very differently than everywhere else. So we'll probably see some of that too eventually, but I wasn't sure how the lower ranks would end up playing at all. Now, this is just one game, so I still don't know. But in this game, they definitely focus too much on territory. However, this was a 2-stone handicap game, so that wasn't really very nice there. But handicap's pretty common here on Pandanet. The most important thing to really keep in mind is that you always want to finish your positions. I've seen this so many times, is that people just don't finish what they were doing. If I extend here, now it could be that they weren't expecting me to extend there. They thought I'd play somewhere else. They just invaded. But you should always wait for your opponent's move before you click any response or play anything, right? If I extend, you should just push one more time and then you move on. Now, if I block this way and we play the same sort of variation and I turn, you don't owe a move anymore. That's not Sente for me to do this. And if you do want to play a move, you're playing towards the bottom, which is reducing my potential on the bottom. And so it's not really that big of a deal anymore. But when we have this one, because we didn't finish the formation, which is that big mistake here, now this group is not alive in the corner, which is a little bit different. If white plays away, we don't capture, because then white can actually just live. It's a ko, because they have to play on the outside here, and then there's this throw in. But if you play it right, you actually don't capture that stone first. You want to reduce first. And then if they block, now we can just capture, and it's the L shape in the corner. And if they try to do some other sort of weird move, the reason why we extend down is so that we can reduce them even more. We don't have to necessarily jump in, but this makes it look really obvious. It is a group that you need to take care of now, whereas before you don't really need to take care of it. So I might not even block that way. Maybe I'll even block this way in this case, because I'm going to take the top side instead. But I also suggest for basically everyone, honestly, but for quite a lot of people, don't play this 3-3 stuff. It's not because it's bad or anything, but it's because influence is so much harder to play against, right? It's much easier to use influence than it is to play against influence. And it may be confusing, actually. I know quite a lot of people don't know how to use their strength and stuff, but if you have a lot of influence and you just keep trying to build large areas, you probably just win more games than you might think. When you just go for the territory like this, you might win a lot because people will start worrying about their territory. But as you get stronger, you'll start losing even more and more harshly because you focus too much on the territory. You need a little bit more of a balance. So my general rule is that if I'm going to play 3-3, I play 1-3-3. Now, this is a handicap game, so it's a little bit different, but I play 1-3-3 on the board, and then we continue on with the rest of the game as being basic, normal moves. So anyway, let's get on with the rest of the game here. You see they take too much territory, and all I did to punish them was I got one turn on the side. This already gives me maybe 20, 30 points on this side because they didn't finish the formation. And they Atari me and push here. The most common Joseki is the extend in the corner because of the cutting points. Right now, the cutting points don't work because I can't do anything in the corner. But right now, the cutting points do work because I can do something in the corner. We take the corner away from them, right? We get a little bit of profit here, which is really good. So usually you want to protect that cutting point so you get to keep more of the corner here. But also protecting the cutting point, as you see later on in the game, if they try to do something like this, which I was talking about, we have all these Ataris here and capture, and now the corner is dead, and we're not really in that bad of a position on the outside. It's almost always better to just protect your cutting point first. So if you think the corner is not what you want and you want the outside position, just protect the other cutting point. This allows you to then jump out really nice and fast here with no weakness locally. But when we push up like this, we try to build this area, you can see that all I need to do is protect my cutting point, and then they still have all this stuff to worry about. I don't need to do anything about it. They can worry about it themselves. And then they also didn't respond to my approach move. While I think it's probably good to not just respond to everything your opponent does, when it involves a Joseki, you should probably just play the Joseki and move on. That's sort of my feeling about it, even all the way up till 5 or 6 dawn on Taijim and Fox. Just play the Joseki, and then you're always going to have a perfectly fine position, because whoever plays the first move gets the advantage locally. And yeah, I just take the corner. I'm not too worried about this, but you can see that compared to what they did here, I'm protecting my cutting points, and that's all that really matters to me. And then they play too small of a move. They don't need to keep building this. They've already built this. So now they just need to break up my area. But you can now see as well that I have this very large moyo over here, and I had this very large moyo on the bottom, and I have a potential on the left side. It's because they gave me too much influence. So I can actually go from any direction here, push this stone wherever I want. And I'm probably just going to win because I just have so much on the outside of the board. After this, I basically have solid territory everywhere. It's not perfect. They can invade, but they probably can only do one invasion. Because after one invasion, and I get a move like this, the rest of this area is probably solid points. And if they have this weak group on the board, and they're running and running, all of this is now getting to become more and more solid points. Your opponent should still try to invade, because they need to learn if they can live here or not. But it should also just die. So there's only really one invasion that someone can play in this sort of game. So they have to be very careful in how they do it. But after this, the game is kind of over because they still focus too much on the territory. They may not know this one though, right? But they wanted the corner and they stuck with just taking the corner. I know at 10Q and 9Q, you definitely can read this sort of move. But if you just didn't like the results, that's a little different. Because they shouldn't be focusing so much on the corners. They should actually be pretty happy now to have this outside influence where they can then go and try to do something in my area if they want to. But because I get even more influence and they have to live really small, I'm even happier. And that's why I just take this. This is good enough. But if I want to sort of play in a big way, we probably play something along these lines, right? Where we're trying to close off the entire side of the board. But I want to be a little bit more conservative here. I'm okay with just taking a little bit. The last thing we really want to talk about, which I think I talked about enough in the game probably, was this area here. I just want to show you the other option. If we did try to surround the group instead, the really good part here is that on this outside area, you can see, just to show how it looks here, you can see that there's all of this really strong potential, and we probably end up turning the rest of the board into territory. But you can also see there is a little bit of Aji with my group. So if they get a move like this one, and blocking, and then I try to kill them too much, maybe they can actually just cut me and kill me. And it's probably not going to happen, but that's my weakest side of the board. So I always want to focus on what is my weakest area. So because I have that cutting point, because there's that possibility of something happening, I want to not push them towards what I think is my weaker area. I want to push them where I think I'm stronger. So in this case, I'm connecting up my group. The other option would be to like jump from the top. This would be the weaker side jumping away. But in this case, I think the first option you should really have is connecting your groups. When I'm connecting my group, I get territory and I don't have to worry about my group. When I'm jumping from this direction, I probably don't get this territory anymore. And I'm not actually directly fixing my cutting point. So my first instinct and the first thing you should think about is the connecting your groups idea. Then when they jump out here, now our groups are basically connected. We may want to play one more move to make sure the more important area is connected. And now I'm okay with just trying to build this bottom side. And I'm playing 2 spaces because I want to be at the same spot my opponent is here. There's the head position. So this stone is what I'm looking at. I want to be at the same spot or further. But if I go further, it's a 3 space. And 3 space is way too weak. So I'm only doing 2 spaces. So then now if they did one more jump, I could do 2 more spaces to get even further ahead of them. And I think I talked about that in the game as well. I want to get ahead of my opponent as best I can. Anyway, I hope this game was fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm going to tweak the settings and hopefully not get a handicap game next time. I might have games without Comey and stuff, but I don't necessarily want to have a handicap game like this. So we'll see what happens in the next game. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good day and have fun.